Let's look at an example on how to interpret the standard deviation from a data set. So let's assume I worked in a veterinary clinic and I collected data on 8 cats that came in that day. And the data I collected were the weights of each cat that came in. So let me make sure I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've got 8 pieces of data, and the weight is in pounds for these cats. So I would like to calculate and interpret the standard deviation. Let's go ahead and either use our calculator or use the online calculator to get the standard deviation. So let's suppose I went to my TI calculator. I would go to the stat feature, and the first feature we see is edit, and I would press enter. Then I would enter my data that I collected. So I had an 8, enter, 7, enter, 5, enter, 10, 11, 15, 10, enter, 11, enter, 15, enter, 9 and 7. 9, enter, 7, enter. So I went to stat, then I chose the edit feature, and then I just entered my data. And now that my data is entered, I have all 8 pieces of data. We're going to go back to stat and go over to the right under calculate and press enter on one variable stats. In this list, it should say L1, and we don't need anything in the other places, so we'll just press enter, enter, and enter. And what this gives you is your X bar. So our average weight was 9 pounds. And we get our standard deviation. We want the sample standard deviation, the SX value there. If you scroll down, you'll also notice that you get a 5-number summary. You've got your min, you've got your max, you've got first quartile, third quartile, and your median. So on this TI calculator, you can find all those basic statistical calculations. But right now, the X bar was 9 and the sample standard deviation was 3.07. So X bar was 9, and that just means the average was 9 pounds. And the standard deviation we got from our calculator was 3.07. And the standard deviation has a unit on it. So that's 3.07 pounds. Now let's interpret, actually before I want to interpret that, I want to show you how this would be done using the online calculator. So instead of using the TI calculator, what if I use that online statistical calculator that I mentioned in your project? All you would have to do would be to type in your data values, each one separated by a comma. Once your data is in, just press calculate. And we'll see, well, there it is. We'll see the results right here. What you'll notice is your average is 9. That's what we got on our calculator. We also have our standard deviation. Now on this results table, we want the sample standard deviation, 3.07. So we got the same results either by using the online calculator or using our TI calculator. Okay, so we have our results, we have the average, we have the standard deviation. This is how we interpret. Okay, so the average is 9 pounds. This is our interpretation of the standard deviation. On average, the data values, and actually in this case, we're going to be specific. On average, the weights of cats differed from the mean by 3.07 pounds. Take a second and think about that. The standard deviation basically gives you an average value of how far each data value is from the mean. So if I lined up these data values in order, actually let me take a second and do that. So we can think of the standard deviation this way. Look at our data values all lined up in numerical order. The average was 9 pounds. So it kind of worked out nice that I had a 9 here. So how far is 5 from 9? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's about 4 pounds away. How far is 7 from 9? Well, it's about 2 pounds away. How far is 15 from 9? It's 6 pounds away. And so on. So what the standard deviation does is it takes the average of each of these values. How far is each value from the mean, and it averages those out. So on average, each of these data values would differ from the mean by 3.07 pounds. This is how we interpret our standard deviation. So this is important, and this is also part of your project. You need to include this in your project. And in your project, you need to make sure that you use the correct units. In this case, I was measuring the weights of cats, but you might be measuring the age at which someone had their first child. So you need to use those units when you are interpreting your standard deviation. I hope this is helpful. Let me know if you have any questions.